and I knew his high school coach, and I saw him play in high school. And Roy Marble was a great guy. And I mean, it's a shame that at 48 years old, he loses a battle with cancer. But if I'm not mistaken, Roy settled in Iowa. He had settled in Iowa City. And I couldn't believe that his jersey wasn't up there already. And I'm with that family 100%. But I want to tell you something. Iowa has come to Detroit in Michigan for years.
To recruit?
I mean, for years. Junior college basketball came to Detroit to recruit, and the University of Iowa recruited Detroit going back to the 50s. And they've always got really good players from Detroit and the state of Michigan. For them, I know that there's been some problems prior to this with some of the kids and some of the men that grew up from playing there, that they had some problems in Iowa.
Look at the football team. I just throw that out there.
There was a kid named Bowman out of Orchard Lake St. Mary's that got into him and the football coach, Francis' son, were caught taking some other kid's credit card and ordering something. Bowman gets put out of school, and where the hell is the coach's son? Hell, he's the offensive coordinator now. So this isn't the first time that Iowa has disgraced themselves, and it won't be the last. But I'm going to tell you something right now. This is a shame, and this is terrible thing that Roy Marble's jersey wasn't up there long ago.
Already.
Long ago.
As we go to Orlando, I also want to add.
And people you got to remember stuff like this. And we can't, and they've got to pay for this. They got to pay for this behavior. And I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about when Fran McCaffrey walks in your school, tell him, hey, no thanks, pal.
Yeah.
No thanks.
Yeah, and that'll do it.
There's the door.
As we go to get to Orlando, they had the whole issue with the football team talking about, the racism and the things they were experiencing. That was just so there's a systematic culture out there that's playing out. Orlando, what's your thought? You're on mute right now, by the way.
I got you. So I absolutely agree with John. I would have thought that Marble's jersey would have been retired already. Years ago. Years ago. And the whole thing is that not releasing the criteria. They're not releasing the criteria because there is no criteria.
So ain't nothing to release.
There is no criteria. And I'm a little bit close to the situation because I know John knows. And I'm gonna throw the picture up. But I have my pick whose jersey should have been retired. And I gave him a shout out before. And it's my cousin Tyler Cook, who is also in that conversation. He's probably one of the best players to ever come through Iowa.
Shout out to Tyler Cook.
Yeah, and right now he was with Brooklyn. So the point is that it speaks poorly to that program and that institution that there is no formal criteria.
So y'all, whenever the wind blow, y'all go decide.
Right. And let me say this. I don't want to take anything from Garza. Garza's a good player, a solid player. Not that kid's fault that this occurred, but something needs to be done. They need to step up. And I agree with John. They need to take the punishment elsewhere, and in the recruiting battlefield is probably the best place to let them know.
Well, as we get ready to bring Terry on, to John's point, you gave us a real great statement of activism. Power to the people, John. John said, "Hey, when Franny show up with them long strap shoes that he like to wear and all that kind of stuff, say, no, we good, dog. We straight up. We're not sending our kids there. We're not sending our kids out there to be great and bring all this greatness to your school when we know at the end that they won't be recognized." That's an excellent point, John. Terry, what you got? I see. Wait a minute. Hold on. We got one more to add Come on,
I
Pat.
just
What's up?
had to add it because he's a friend
Step
of
all
mine.
the way
I
in so we
think
can see you. Step all the way in. Step behind your dad so we can see you good.
I just wanted to say it because he's a friend of mine. I think he deserves it. Orlando. His son, Roy's son, Devin Marble, is fourth on the scoring list or third, but he's definitely top 5 on the scoring in all time of Iowa history.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know,
I appreciate. And for the record, anybody who's watching that's Patrick. He got a whole face. You just saw half his face. He do have a whole face. So there you go right there. My God, no, I appreciate that. Terry, what you got?
No, I grew up, so I wasn't around when Roy was playing, so I do some diving in. Last time I checked, Iowa hasn't had a 30-win season since Roy's team went 30-5 in 1996 and 1986 and 87 season. Had to do a little diving for that one, but that blew my mind right there. Why he isn't? I don't understand why he hasn't had his jersey retired too. I have a lot of problems with this one. One being that I don't like players getting their jerseys retired if they're still an active player.
Ooh.
I think that I don't like that at all. I believe Garza still has some work to do. Don't start celebrating now. He still has some work to do, and it's nothing against him. Like Orlando was saying, it's not his fault. But at the same time, though, Iowa's program needs to understand that they made a little bit of an immature move. This is something that you don't do as a program. And like you guys mentioned, that this isn't new from Iowa. Like Iowa has been pretty consistent, like when Devin was playing. And I got to shout out Anthony Clemens, Lance Sexton, very own. So, Iowa has been very, pretty consistent. They haven't been probably as good as they are now. But I do want to say, though, you got to remember your roots, man. Like Iowa, you got to remember your roots. Like, don't start forgetting all your history, all your culture of the African-American players that have done a lot for Iowa's program. And so now that I just don't really like the move from this. I mean, like I said, Garza, you gotta take it because they're offering it to you, and his body of work has been amazing in Iowa. His story and how he's fought through adversity and what he's become now. But at the same time, this is a bad move from Iowa. Roy definitely needs his jersey retired. I'm with John too. I looked it up. I was like, is this man's jersey not retired? Like I looked in Google. I had this Google search it 3 times, like Roy Marble jersey retirement. I didn't find anything. I'm like, this is outrageous. So definitely Iowa needs. Players will pay attention to how you treat former players. That is something that Duke has had a great reputation on, and how that brotherhood and what Zion chose to go to Duke instead of South Carolina, and that big move he made, they pay attention to how they treat their alumni. So I think this is something that is very key for them.
I want to say a few things. Orlando, hit that image up of who was just saying what's up. I want to shout out, one of the listeners who was saying they appreciate what we got going on. Lakeisha Nicole Van Horn, thank you. Pretty cool stuff, fellas. Keep it up. Thank you, Lakeisha. We appreciate you. Also, I want to shout out Carlton Valentine. He's the father of Denzel Valentine, Michigan State. Carlton broke this story before it even made the national news. So I want to make sure Carlton hears this. And Carlton was the coach of Brother Clemens at Sexton. Great guy. Was a part of the Michigan State family. He's been a great counselor to me on a number of issues. So I want to make sure Carlton hears this. Carlton said it was wrong. So it wasn't even about, it was before the news even broke. Once he heard about it, he put it out there. And to John's point, and again, man, in this woke culture, just like we got the cancel culture that Orlando spoke of, we got this woke culture. Hey, man, well, Iowa come in now. Like, we good, man. We take it. Because why would I go give you my absolute best when I know that even with me being gone, you would have thought that the untimely passing of Roy Marble would have prompted him, like, you know what, let's honor this man and raise this jersey. You know what I'm saying? But that being said, man, that's not a good look for Iowa. That's not a good look for programs that do that. So with that, speaking of switching to a program that's getting it right now, I want everybody to know also, much love to the Rachel Williams Foundation, our sponsor, Gilead Sciences, as well as Dick's Sporting Goods and Team Michigan Basketball. Now, that is referring to some program we're going to be talking about soon. There's going to be a new opportunity for some people to get involved and get ahead of the curve on this when we talk about this bubble style high school programming that we're going to have going on at Traverse City soon. We'll tell you more about that, but keep an eye out for Team Michigan Sports. But here's the thing. I'm going to talk about another Michigan you guys may know about. The University of Michigan and Juwan Howard and all that they're doing, being the Big Ten champs outright. Illinois, you better go sit down somewhere. Also, what he's doing is being recognized as Coach of the Year. And I remember being on a panel for a television show a year ago and sitting with one of the major news outlets, John, and they were talking about Big Ten coaches. And I said, what do you think about Juwan Howard? My man was about to fall over himself saying, he ain't did nothing. He ain't did nothing. I'm saying, wow. So I can't wait to ask him this year what you think. So with that, what do you guys think? And I'll start with Terry, go to Orlando, and finish with John. What do you guys think about the job, Juwan Howard, and shout out to Sadie Washington, a Lansing native, and one of my guys from Western Michigan University, Howard Isley from Detroit. What do you guys think about the job that Juwan Howard is doing at the University of Michigan?
Well, I think I'm going to go accolade side, and I'm going to go more analytical kind of side. I'm going to start off with the accolades. I mean, last year we kind of saw Juwan kind of establish that culture that he wants to bring, a little bit of NBA style of play and some gritty defense, some hardcore defense, a lot of energy from the bench, having everyone a part of the game. He's starting to establish that culture. I mean, I remember in Atlantis last year, they beat teams like North Carolina, Gonzaga. They got up to being number 4 in the nation after that little run they made Thanksgiving weekend. So we knew that it was there. We knew that his impact on Michigan basketball was very important. But coming back, from the Fab Five and rejuvenating that Michigan basketball culture was very key, and I love to see it. Even though I hate the school, but I love the guy coming back and doing it for his alma mater.
You see how you got that in there? You see how you got that in there? I hate that.
But I mean, the fact that he's bringing in 5 McDonald's All-Americans this past year in that 2021 class, some serious guys with some serious talent coming in here, and they're not going anywhere. And then the analytical side, he's going to bring in some more of these players because he brings that NBA touch to the game. He does that high screen and roll. Everyone's getting involved. Shooters shoot when they're open. There's pretty long leashes for games. Everyone's allowed to play their game as long as they play defense, from what I've seen. And so he's bringing that. Mike Smith's doing a great job. Coach Howard's taking him under his wing. Taking that 5th-year senior and really letting Mike Smith, have the keys to his offense. And I think those young players are going to take notice that these are NBA sets that he is running is going to prepare me for the league. As somebody that's watching that, I know that players are going to get attracted to how offensive sets are ran, just like Beeline. When Beeline was there, Beeline allowed you to shoot threes. He allowed you to play the perimeter game. He wasn't really so sold on defense, but he allowed you to play that NBA style of play. And I think that drives in players who, I hate to say it, but this league in the basketball period is more perimeter centered. And so with Juwan Howard implementing that big man, Hunter Dickinson in the middle, setting that high screen, allowing him to have space and space the floor out, it's a style of basketball that is attracting some of these top players that he's going to get in these years to come.
I'm going to say it right now on this podcast before we go to Orlando. Terry McCord Jr. will be coaching a program in the very near future. And that's it, because all I'm doing is listening to Coach speak, and I'm talking to 2 coaches in Orlando and John, and I know you guys feel like you listening to one of your colleagues with how you broke that down. I just want to put that out there. I'm just saying, all good. Orlando, what you got for Juwan Howard in the Michigan program?
What can I say? Nothing short of phenomenal. The turnaround of that program in such short fashion is absolutely incredible. We're looking at your new elite coach.
Yep.
He is the new generation. He is the Izzos, the Coach K of the future, and he's here now. There's nobody, right now, we knew that he was going to come in. We knew with that NBA experience and that NBA flair that he was going to attract big recruits. But he is that coach that he's going to get them because I think he's in a position and he's young enough to still be able to relate to these kids. And I think that is a huge part of their success in their comeback is that he and his staff are honestly able to relate to these kids.
He got swag. He got swag. He got swag. He fly.
Skin too. That color of your skin makes a big difference. If I know that I'm gonna get recruited by a guy that looks just like me, that can relate to me and my struggle, that might take the nod from a lot of recruits to go play for you, man. I'm like, I'm gonna play for Juwan
I'm
Howard.
gonna have endless J's. I'm gonna have J's for days.
Right. So, Lindsay, so these kids know he's handling his own Instagram account.
Mm-hmm.
Not the public relations department, but these other coaches are.
Or, for example, unlike Izzo, who says stay off social media.
Right.
That contrast. Right. Yeah.
Right.
John, what do you think about what's going on?
Well, first of all, you've been putting up this Team Michigan logo, and Orlando failed to mention that Juwan Howard is a Team Michigan alumnus. He won the national championship on Team Michigan.
That's right.
For Orlando's father, Rocky, who won 7 national championships with Team Michigan.
Shout out to Team Michigan.
So you go back, Juwan Howard was the first of the Fab Five. Okay? The first one that committed. And to me, he was always the glue. Now, look at him. Just look at him and picture him on the sidelines and picture when you see him. This man, social culture he's cool. He's cool.
And that's currency.
You know, you mentioned Lindsay Swagger. This man is cool. He looks cool. He handles himself cool. But let's make no mistakes. I read every word he said about the loss at Michigan State. We weren't engaged. We didn't do this. We didn't, and he was on the button. So you can say pro sets, yes, and you can say, hey, he goes in a house. I've been in 25 years. I was in the NBA, and he got Jalen Rose, his pal, pumping him up on ESPN every day. He's going to get in every house, and he's going to be very good when he gets in that house.
Stay right there, because Jim Plythe just made a comment. The key, and we appreciate you, Jim. The key now is keeping him in Ann Arbor. Is there any question? He's not leaving Ann Arbor, John.
Did you hear what Jalen Rose said?
What did Jalen say?
Jalen Rose last week said he's going to leave, but he ain't leaving before he wins a national championship. Jalen Rose said that on his show last week.
You got to believe whatever Jalen say.
I mean, this guy is focused, and what I like about him is I watch all this basketball, and you think about Michigan State today. This is a team that got blown out by Northwestern. Yet they beat Illinois, Ohio State, and Michigan. Okay? So you see the ups and downs. Juwan Howard's team, man, I'm going to tell you, yeah, they didn't play too well in Minnesota, and they didn't play too well against Illinois. But I'm telling you what, consistency and coming out to play every day and coming out to defend. I watch these teams. These teams have great talent, but these players are not engaged all the time. They take minutes off. They take possessions off. They lose concentration. They get lost. They fail to engage. Michigan is their rules of engagement have been higher than a lot of teams I've seen this year. I think this guy, I think he was made to be a coach. He's a basketball lifer. He appreciates his life as a basketball player. He appreciates the game, but make no mistake about it. This is an old school guy when it comes to coach basketball.
Yeah, he is. He's done a tremendous job. Well, staying with that theme of Big Ten champion, and now talking about the Big Ten tournament. You guys know at 11:30, Michigan State got out to a great start, and I was preparing my question, thinking I was going to go in one direction because Tom talked about yesterday that he wanted to get some revenge on Maryland. But it seems that Maryland has had the best of their 2 meetings, being able to really have a sizable win. And to be honest, and Tom said we can write about it, we can talk about it. Tom had a breakdown. He got his first technical foul, which to our point about Roy Marble's jersey being retired, I didn't even know it had been several seasons since he got a technical foul. He got a technical foul, and as you guys know, as coaches and coaches to be, you know that your team takes on a personality that you project based on what's going on. It's like when you come out of the locker room at halftime or when you come out post-game, you know, Aaron Henry was inconsolable. Short of him having tears, he couldn't even give full sentences in his answers in the post game. And it was also taking on the idea of what Tom Izzo was on. But right now they're all quarantined. They're all in their rooms because they're expected to get the call on Selection Sunday. And just to be clear, Northwestern, who lost their game, they got sent home. They told Michigan State, no, you stick around, because as we all know, they're probably going to get that call to be in the tournament. So we could talk about Michigan State and Maryland, that matchup. But also, I don't really want to spend too much time. I'd rather use the remaining 20 minutes or so that we have to talk about just the bracket itself. Maybe, Orlando, if you can put that bracket up right on time. We see what's happening right here. We're going to move Maryland to Michigan. We got Ohio State matching up against Purdue. I don't know. Is that Indiana game? Is it Indiana and Rutgers? Indiana, Illinois. And who's matching up with Iowa right now? I don't know if you guys can fill in the blank. But,
yeah, they got Indiana and Rutgers is tipping off. They just tipped off at 6:30, and then Wisconsin and Penn State have the late game tonight.
Okay. Well, let's try to go through that. I'll start with John. I'll put you back on the spot. John, Terry, and Orlando, if you want to add, what are you guys thinking this bracket is going to look like? How is Friday going to finish up, and Saturday, and even let's take it to Sunday, and we can use the remainder of our time to kind of toss those things around. And you can go in whatever order you may want, John, how you may want to do, but just give us your take on who's going to be hosting the trophy Sunday, March 14th.
Well, I want to see Illinois and Michigan. I think they're the two most talented teams, and I think that Cockburn is the difference. I think that Illinois gets Michigan
Again? They'll get them again?
Yeah, I think so, because, you know, I see some chinks in Michigan a little bit. I'm not a Wagner fan yet. He's a flopper. He's a crybaby, and I don't like him in the big game. I just don't like him when you get up on him and you play. And you know, he's got a good game, but he's got a European game. He's not ready for the hood yet. He ain't ready.
So he's only benefiting from his brother's legacy. He's benefiting.
He couldn't play in the PSL, and I like Illinois, but that's who I want to see. I'd like to see Illinois and Michigan again.
So you mean tell me that if they match up again, no matter how much film that Juwan looks at, that he's not going to be able to overcome the Illini storm that they're going to bring?
Michigan's Achilles tendon to me, and I've always looked at them. How do they beat Gonzaga, and how do they beat Baylor? And I think that Michigan's small guards are in a close game if you're nitpicking. And I'm nitpicking, and that's what coaches do. Okay, they look for matchups or where I can go. I think Michigan's guards are a little small, and I think that's going to hurt them. And I think when it comes down to it, if you get up on Livers and you get up on Wagner and you guard them, they don't play as well going against physical competition when someone's in their face. And Illinois can do this to them. Illinois can switch a little bit, and the big boy can guard Dickinson.
Yeah,
he can guard him. He is a mountain of a young man, and he's stronger, and he's going to push him out just a couple more feet and get him out of his comfort. And I like Illinois' team.
Yeah.
And I think the Sumo is an incredible player. He's got a three-point shot. He's got a mid-range game. He's got a floater game. He can go to the rack. He shoots the ball. Look, when he goes to the rack, he puts the ball in about 3 different spots on the backboard. It's amazing the talent this kid has when he gets close to the rack. I don't think Michigan has anybody who can guard him.
Do we know if Eli Brooks is back in the lineup after the sprain?
No, I don't expect him. From what I hear, he is not going to play. I hope he does. I hope the young man's healthy. But that's gonna mess with their rotation. There's no doubt about it.
But that ain't Illinois' fault, right?
No, it's not. That's part of the game. I mean, DeSumo didn't play against Michigan when they played.
That's true. That's a good point. Terry, what do you have?
One thing that draws my eye the most, I think, is that Purdue and Ohio State game. I don't like the matchup for Ohio State just because of Ohio State's inside presence has been kind of weak lately, and as you've seen, the 4 straight losses, I think, is due because of that. And so I think that, honestly, because Michigan, we saw how they play without Eli Brooks. Eli Brooks is kind of like their glue, like their Juwan Howard, their Josh Langford, their Aaron Henry. He brings everybody together. Everyone knows how important, a locker room guy is, who knows how to who knows how to bring his team together and win those games. So I honestly have Purdue making it to that championship game. I think they get in Michigan. I think Purdue gets them. And, Michigan beat them soundly last time they played at Mackey. But I do believe that Purdue is a different team. Purdue is my dark horse Sweet 16 team. I think they can make it back there. But I have Purdue going in there, and I have them playing. I think that Wisconsin's going to be Penn State, and then Iowa's going to be. But I have Purdue playing against Illinois for that Big Ten championship game. And I don't know. I wouldn't – this year has been really wild. I wouldn't be surprised if I see Purdue, but I'm going to go with Illinois. But that injury with Frazier, I don't know if Frazier will be back. So that injury kind of scares me a little bit in a sense of, like, it would help to have that firepower against a team like Purdue who plays very good defense and that will slow the game down. So I think I do have Illinois because I think Coburn is just too good. And I like DeSumo, even though he has that mask on. But I like DeSumo. Everybody seems to play better with that mask on. So
let's go back to Rip Hamilton with the Pistons.
Yep, like Rip Hamilton, LeBron had his career high with that mask on. Everybody just seen Kyrie had a good game with that mask. I mean, everybody plays better with it on. I'm just gonna go with it.
I love it. I appreciate that. Orlando, you got anything you want to share?
I just have one question because I'm going to leave the Big Ten picks to the Big Ten picks people. But I just had this question. Terry, were you born in Michigan? It's hard to tell.
I was. I don't usually like to say this, but I was born in Michigan. I was born in Lansing, Michigan. But I like to say my second home. I got a birth certificate, I think, somewhere in the house that says Canton, Ohio, or Akron, Ohio, one or the other. My parents ain't tell me about it yet, but I know I got one of them somewhere around there in the house.
He keep it 100. He loves it like that. Well, no, it's going to be interesting to see. Just kind of touching with the time we have, I want to go back and give you guys some forethought. Maybe we can also get into your predictions for Selection Sunday, which will be in a couple of days. But kind of going back to that Michigan State-Maryland game, some teams, man, just match up against Tom a certain way. And I think what happens is Tom getting that technical foul first in several seasons, him probably realizing that despite getting out and having that large double-digit lead early in the first half against Maryland, some players, some teams, I should say, because the players always change, just match up better with him. Some guys have Tom's number. And I want to look at the Coach Krzyzewski's of the world when you talk about their total meetings, and even Mark Turgeon, because it just comes down to it that for you to come back and split the games between Michigan and beat Juwan Howard, that's great. But for Mark Turgeon to come in with a team that's on the bubble and be successful in beating you twice, I think that speaks to something that got Tom so irritated that he was almost like he hit a wall and he felt he couldn't really overcome that. So I think that's just the reality. And it probably goes that way, as Tom would say, Michigan State beat up on a lot of people for 20 years. But I think going into Selection Sunday, I'd love to get you guys' thoughts. I mean, I feel comfortable. And I felt that, man, actually, I felt that Michigan State got in the tournament when they beat Indiana, if you really want to look at it. But, of course, going and beating Illinois, Michigan, as well as Ohio State, those top, 5 teams, no other program had done that. And for them to say, hey, just hang around Indianapolis, that's a good thing. What are you guys' prediction on Selection Sunday? Are you predicting, how should I say, what are some potential shocking predictions you think are going to come from Selection Sunday? I'll start with you, Terry, and I go to John and Orlando if you want to share.
Well, I think the biggest shocker is that there is no Duke Blue Devils this year. So they got put into a position where they had to win out. They're out due to COVID. So that's probably the biggest surprise of all. But I honestly, I think the Big Ten has a chance to get 9 teams in the tournament. I think the top 9 seeds definitely have a case to try and make that run for and to get in the big dance. I think Maryland, Rutgers, and Michigan State, the 7, 8, and 9 seeds in the Big Ten tournament right now are working to try and build a case. I guess Rutgers' case would be to handle Indiana tonight and then also maybe make a run and maybe beat Illinois. But I think if they take care of the Indiana game, I think it would help their cause too. I think Maryland getting this win over Michigan State, whose resume has been looking great lately, is a big would be key for them. And if they
did Tom throw that game for Mark Turgeon?
I don't think so. I mean, Izzo wants to win everything, and I think he showed his competitive side by getting that technical. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think the Big Ten could seriously get 9 teams in there. I think Michigan State probably has the best chance because they beat 3 top 5 AP teams. Almost in a row, pretty much. Without slipping up to that Maryland and then Michigan. They split with Michigan, so Michigan State would probably be an 11th or 12th seed. I think that if they get in that 12th seed, I definitely see some people picking that 5-12 upset against whoever they match up against. Because at the end of the day, it's a game of matchups. You only have to be the best team for, as we said in high school, for 32 minutes in the playoffs. But now in the March Madness, you just gotta be the best team for 40 minutes. Shots go in, shots don't. Any game is anyone's chance in March Madness, as we've seen. So MSU just has to find a way to be the best team every game in 40 minutes.
And really quick before I go to John and get his take on it, also let's not look past the staff of Michigan State and what they've been doing, a tournament style turnaround in their scouting report in these last couple of weeks, which is an added benefit where you get like, hey, this is what we're going up against. And these guys go out with Drew Donesco, my guy, Coach DJ Stevens, as well as OG Garland, as well as why am I drawing a blank on my homeboy? I'll scream.
You got Tum in there too.
Yeah, all these guys, they get this quick turnaround on the scouting report that allows those guys to get those matchups, which has almost been, they've been kind of getting tournament ready prior to the tournament. I think that's going to be an advantage. John, what's your take on any surprises on Selection Sunday?
Well, I don't think. I think it's come down to, who's going to be the last in. I mean, I just read something before we came on about Syracuse and Boise State. So I don't think there's going to be any big. I think Michigan State's in. I agree with Terry. I think 9 teams. I think Maryland probably worked their way in there today. But, one other thing about Juwan Howard. When they left today for Indianapolis, he told his players, pack your suitcase for 30 days because we're not coming home. So there, and as far as Michigan State, let's face it, this is not a full good roster. This team, it's surprising, but Rocket Watts has not been able to consistently defend. They cannot consistently defend at any position. And they had some ups and downs. And I think today was just a frustrating year with his team. And then you throw on the COVID. I think it's just been a real tough year. And he better get his butt out and he better do some recruiting. Because when you recruit a team, you have to recruit different things. Like Michigan needed a point guard. So he goes out and gets Mike Smith. Mike Smith comes in, and you guys mentioned he turns the keys over to him. Well, Tom went out and recruited Foster Lawyer. Okay? Now, who happens to be one of the better high school basketball players I've seen. But I wouldn't have recruited him to Michigan State. I said to an NBA scout, I watched him play 3 times, sit next to an NBA scout when he was at Clarkston. And we both looked at one another and said, who the hell is he going to guard? Okay, who's he going to blow by?
And let me ask you this, John. Let me ask you this question: can it be argued that Michigan State's late season success was based on Foster being out of the lineup and not in it?
Well, there's no doubt about it.
Yep.
And another thing he did was Hauser. You know, Hauser has been, he must blow Izzo's mind. I mean, Izzo must stay awake at night saying to his wife, keep my hands off his neck. Because he refuses to defend anybody. That's why he's in foul trouble all the time. And you know, he hasn't done much. So he's
self-regulated himself to being a bench player.
Well, that's what, you know, against Michigan, he came in, he played maybe 15 minutes, and he did good. He took Livers to the rack and he made a 3. And a part-time player, he's done well. But with those two guys out of the lineup, it helped. I think it helped Michigan State. But they still don't have a point guard. They don't have consistent jump shooters. You know what Maryland did today? I looked at their defense setting up, and I counted a dozen times where they had 5 guys with at least 1 foot in the paint. Now, they were going to not let Henry go to the basket. They're going to make him pass the ball. And then when Tom goes to his, let's start the offense by throwing the pass to the wing, they moved him out 5 feet and they put pressure. Do you realize that in the first half, Maryland made 15 out of 16 free throws, and in that game scored 27 points off turnovers, and Michigan State scored 2. So, you know, they got into that. They took away what Michigan State did. They ramped up the defense, and Michigan State has nobody that can get them in anything. They took Aaron Henry. They said, you're not going to be the orchestrator today. And that's the same defense they played when they beat them by 18 at Maryland, and Michigan State had no answer for it. Right, if everybody's in the paint, where's Langford on one wing and Gabe Brown on the other wing making jump shots and forcing them? Michigan State doesn't have that cohesiveness. They have an incomplete roster. They don't complement one another. Tom Izzo's biggest task and that staff's biggest task is not getting ready for this tournament, because this team is going to get beat early.
Well, that's my question. How many rounds do you see them? What round do you see them?
Well, I don't know. I mean, you know, I mean, who's going to show up? Is it the team that got beat by Northwestern the first game of the Big Ten, or is it the team that beat Illinois? You know, and chances are they'll play hard. They'll play hard. But, man, when they get the ball and that shot clock's going down, man, I look at that. I look at the shot clock and I say, oh, man, this is not a good possession, because they ain't doing nothing. They're not attacking the basket. They're not looking to the basket. They're just passing the ball around the perimeter. They're not, you know, where the hell is the – why do you get the basketball and put it on the ground? Why don't you get the ball, put it in a triple threat? If they would take some of these guys and had somebody that could dribble drive and make some things happen with spacing, it was different. I don't look for him to make a run in the tournament. I don't look for him to be successful. What I'd be doing right now if I was him, and there's 2 other guys that can go off campus, I'd get the big fella and I'd get Fife, and I'd tell him, hey, look, you better bring in some damn ball players here, or you need to find a new job. And Tom Izzo, you better start recruiting and getting some of these kids instead of coming in second, or just retire and enjoy yourself in the UP and in Lansing.
Well, wait a minute. Tom
you better get
NBA a lot. You think he wants to go to NBA in Atlanta? You want to share on this too?
Those NBA players will run his ass out of there in 30 seconds.
Beeline.
They ain't putting up with that crap.
They ran Beeline out of there.
I think Michigan State better work They better get in this transfer portal. Did you listen to Richard Pitino's press conference? It was very enlightening. With this extra year of eligibility with COVID, with this first-time transfer where you can go and you can be immediately eligible. He said, people don't know about this stuff. And he said, with all the guys going in the transfer portal, this is going to be the most challenging offseason in a lot of years for NCAA coaches and big-time programs. And Tom Izzo has a lot of holes to fill. This guy didn't forget how to coach. He knows how to coach. And his attitude and how he's treated players has worked. And I think some players, he's proven a winner. But, man, he better get a roster that complements one another, because this roster is incomplete. And he gets an F for being the architect of this roster.
Woo. Orlando, before we wrap up, we got a few minutes. Anything you want to share?
I think John has said it all.
John, let it be known. Let it be known. Well, listen, man, with the time that we have, I just want to thank you guys. I want to thank Terry, of course, the co-host, Orlando, all that you do, and John for what you share, and Patrick as well for bringing half your face into the screen to be able to share that. We are living up to the title, Progressive Podcast Show. We talked about a number of issues. I think we hit it all the right way. So with that, I want to just go through and thank again the Streets of Talking Podcast Network that we're able to be on Saturday and Sunday in this worldwide impact. Shout out to Africa. We know we got some play going in Africa. Shout out to Ratio Williams and the Ratio Williams Foundation. And we're thankful for them, as well as Gilead Sciences and Dick's Sporting Good. And be on the lookout for Team Michigan Sports and what we're going to be doing going forward. There's going to be an opportunity out there for other people who want to get involved to support this great opportunity, to support some young basketball players throughout the state. So with that, I want to thank our panel. I want to thank all of our listeners. I want to thank all those who made comments. And we'll see you guys next week. And we're signing off.